Well, I'm going to save the thank yous for later because I want to give God His time. So, jumping right into this sermon this morning, we're going to start in James 2, verses 1 through 6. Thank you. We often make judgments of people based on their race, their first impressions that they give us, their appearance, and so on and so forth, because that is what the world tells us to do. And sometimes we don't even realize that we're doing it. But we don't take the time to get to know people before we make those judgments. They turn into assumptions. And that, for me, is a big oh me. And so, what I want you to get out of this sermon is the difference between righteous judgment based on God and judgment by the way the world sees it. And so, in doing that, remember in James 1 through 6, 2, 1 through 6, which we just read, that think about it as someone who, the poor man is actually rich. And the rich man is the poor man. You have just assumed that because one is well dressed, he is rich. And because of the way that the other one is dressed, he is poor. But that's not always true. Let's take a look now at James 1, verse 19.
My dear brother, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry.
Thank you. Now, you may be thinking, Jack, why did you put that in a sermon on judgment? The answer is because when we're quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger, we find out that people all have good things to contribute to this world. And when we make those assumptions that they are annoying or that, they may come across as know-it-alls, we don't give them a chance to say what God may want to say through them. People have good things to say, they just don't always know how to say it. So when we're quick to listen, we learn more about a person, and we oftentimes will be blessed through them as well as us blessing them. And so, going on through here further, I'd like to take a look at Matthew 25:40 again.
And the king will answer him, truly I say to you, as you did it for one of the least of these my brothers, you did it to me.
Okay, thank you. I want to take a special look at this verse because the way that we treat others is the way that we also treat God. Imagine that you knew Jesus was coming to your front door. He wanted to have dinner with you. You let him in. You may wash his feet. You give him dinner. You treat him with special kindness because you know who he is. Now, someone else comes in. He's got tattoos. He's a biker. and you just don't like this person. You know him, but you don't like him. Therefore, when he comes to your door, you slam the door in his face. Well, oftentimes, that is what we do to God in the way that we treat others that we don't like. And so I'd like for you to change your perspective on the way that you treat others. Because I hear a lot of the time from people that aren't Christians that they don't want to know my Jesus. Because the Christians who call themselves Christians are hypocritical. And that we don't really live up to what we say. Now that's scary, folks. There's a problem with that. And so, how is it that we can look and change people's perspective on that? And at this time, I want us to think of God as the ultimate judge and go to Psalm verses 75, or chapter 75, verse 7.
But God is the judge. He puts down one and exalts another.
Okay. God is the judge. But what are we supposed to do? I had mentioned something before about righteous judgment. And before I go too far into that, I want to take a look at Matthew 7 and verse 2.
For in the way you judge, you will be judged, and by your standard of measure, it shall be measured to you.
Okay. The way that we judge, we will be measured by how we judge. We set the standard for how we're judged by the way we judge others. And I hope that we do that with love and kindness. Now, as preachers and teachers of the Word, we have an even stickier situation than most. And at this time, let's take a look at James 3 and verse 1.
Let not many of you become teachers, knowing that as such we shall receive a stricter judgment.
Okay, as teachers, we have a stricter judgment. Why, you might ask? It's because we're dealing with the Word of God. And I sure hope that we don't say something that God does not say. I hope that we look at the context of which something is being said and that we know and are confident in what we're preaching. Because we're dealing with souls here, folks. And this is people's eternity. And that is something that SIBI has taught me, is to make sure that when I'm dealing with people's souls, I'm giving them the right message. And now I would like to take a look at two verses. First is Psalm 6:1 and then 1 Timothy 5:20.
Psalm 6:1, King David says, O Lord, rebuke me not in your anger, nor discipline me in your wrath. 1 Timothy 5, verse 20. As for those who persist in sin, rebuke them in the presence of all, so that the rest may stand in fear.
Okay. Psalm 6:1 says, O Lord, do not rebuke me in anger and in wrath. That's what we hope that the Lord will give us, or what we kind of expect from Him. And then 5:20 says, to rebuke so that all may be fearful of sinning. And a perfect example of this is my friend Isaac over here. He's good at rebuking with love and passion. I call it gentle rebuking. It's got a name. But he has really showed me how to do it with love and kindness and with joy, because you care for someone. We've even shed tears together over some of the things that we've dealt with. And so I think that is how we need to judge people. To show them that we care, show them that we love them, but that they're doing wrong by God's standards. And please, 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 if you don't get anything out of this lesson, please know that I want you to back it up with the Word of God when you're rebuking somebody. Because if you're not doing that, then you are wrong, and you need someone to rebuke you. So, in all of this, remember that we need to come together, especially with non-Christians, and practice what we preach, to be passionate about being a Christian, and to show God the joys and show people the joys and wonders of God and what He's all about. Because being a Christian takes a lot of sacrifice as far as material possessions and things that we have of this world, but the ultimate reward is so much better than we have here, folks. And I can't wait until the day I fly away. And so with that being said, I would like to thank God for how far He's brought me in these last 3 years, the people He's used to grow me, and to thank every one of you for helping me see just how wonderful and how precious the family of God is.